Still not live online.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is taking too long. Yeah. We are live.
All right.
Oh, good morning, afternoon, evening from all of us at Gameweek Navigators. Today I'm joined by a dear friend from FPL USA, FPL underscore Kante, also known as Awi. Thanks for coming on as we discuss our Game Week 1 findings and learnings. How was the game week for you, Avi?
It went okay. Could have been better. I made some last moment changes that didn't quite work out well. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Especially regarding X minutes, I was thinking that Pedro's X minutes may not be as good or Martinelli's. Both of them returned, and I got in Odegaard and Jackson instead. So that didn't
Uh,
quite play out well. But I think in general, in average, it went okay. It's only game week one, and I think I'm still happy with my choices that I made for the game week one draft. Looking forward to game week two.
Absolutely. I mean, at least you're ahead of the curve with at least the Jackson move already made, which a
Hmm.
lot of people are going to jump off Watkins to Jackson,
Hmm.
even though like Watkins did look good, but Jackson fixtures are really good coming up. So
Yep.
yeah, I mean, decent game week for you as well. It was a okayish game week for me. I ended up maybe around 80-ish points.
Hmm.
Uh, all of my assets except my midfielders returned. Foden, Bruno, and Rashford. These were the three that did not. And Pickford.
Pickford. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he felt like such a good thing, but then kind of trap as usual, as expected from him. So yeah,
Hmm.
let's
Hmm.
just run over the results for this game week. So we had Manchester City, Burnley, City 1-3-0 over there, Arsenal 2-1 at Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth 1-1 with West Ham, Brighton 4-1 at Luton, Everton 0-1 Fulham, Sheffield 1-0 to Crystal Palace, winning that game. Newcastle game was the exciting one, 5-1 to Aston Villa. Then Brentford and Spurs ended up at a 2-2 level draw. And as usual, Chelsea and Liverpool could
Hmm.
not muster
Another
a.
draw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last five from what I recall,
Yeah.
including cup games.
At least
Every
there
cup
were
game.
goals this time, right? There were like that
Exactly.
three or four like nils.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
remember that cup game. I think it was the EFL Cup final in
Hmm.
which we went 0-0, and then even the penalties were like till the last penalty, it was like even.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
won that on penalty at like 10-11 or something,
Hmm.
where Kepa
Hmm.
missed his penalty, and I guess
Yeah.
Kelleher got his. So it's
Yeah.
just, it's
That
just
kind
the
of game.
nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, fighting off the field and on the field, I mean, it's still the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last game that we had today, Manchester United and Wolves. United pulled off something at the end,
Hmm.
1-0 to them. So let's just deep dive into who were the overachievers for us in this game week. So the overachievers on XG were Isaac, Haaland, and Emerson Royal. Uh, what do you think about Haaland? Like 6 minutes into the season, finds the net.
Yeah. He always does that, right? I mean, he's just he. I think what like in the game he had like 10 or 15 touches or something like that. And he just finds the right places in the right places and gets the right touches and so on, right? And he was after the game he was asked like how he finds those spaces, right, all the time, and he said that I don't know, it's just natural, it comes natural to me, right? So he is that kind of player. He just knows where to be at the right time. But yeah,
Absolutely.
both his goals were very well taken. Uh, in general, Man City probably I will talk about it more, of course.
Yeah.
In general, they didn't look as like prolific as we want them to be or as we expect them to be. But yeah, Haaland is just Haaland monster.
Absolutely. I mean, I from what you were saying, I remember when he scored his second goal, he just had 9 touches, three
Hmm.
shots on the goal, two in the goal. So
Yep.
that's just crazy numbers. Ended up with a delta of 1.5, 1.43 on his XG. Both of
Yeah.
his shots were like just zero point 0.5 XG total.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's the nature of Haaland.
Yep.
Then Isaac as well, like just an XG of 0.77, got two goals
Hmm.
from that, about delta of 1.23. So just looked in the right places at the right time and was on it. So we will
Yep.
discuss that in like detail when we go on to the Villa game, as well as Emerson Royal. One shot on target, 0.03 xg, gets a goal,
Hmm.
the delta of 0.97. So for sure, the major out of the box overachiever over here, Emerson Royal. We do
Hmm.
not expect to see him scoring these many goals and
Yep.
converting 0.03 xg chances. So one
Hmm.
to avoid, one not to fall in a trap for.
Yep.
So let's just move to the underachievers. Neil Mopai, big underachiever, had about 1.35 xg, scored nothing out of it. Cash as well was at 0.72 xg. Would have been a fantasy assist for Watkins if he would have just converted an open chance
Right.
empty goal. It was just it was bad finishing and just not in the right mind, I guess. Just missed a
Hmm.
open goal, open shot, as well as Jackson. I mean, this one does not concern me at all. This was there were only positives about from what
Yep.
I saw about Jackson. You being a Chelsea fan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, he was absolutely doing all the right things throughout the game, running the channels, uh, making the defenders think and work hard. That's what you want from your number nine, right? And his
Absolutely.
chances, I think he had like two big chances, four chances in general, like four decent chances. Uh, None of them were like super duper like big misses or anything. But yeah,
Yeah,
he racked up the XGs, and it's only good signs, as you said. It's only good, better things that I expect from him in general moving forward. So yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, again, uh, there were, of course, big disappointment with missing out on Nkunku with his
yeah,
injury preseason. If he was in there, I mean, both of them would have been great APL assets. Nkunku not being there makes Jackson probably slightly less of an APL asset, but again, we saw that against Liverpool. It's probably hard to judge against these Liverpool defense or midfield in general as well. But again, I mean, just from an outside viewpoint, he looks good. He looks very very good.
absolutely.
So yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't down to Allison making those saves,
Hmm.
another keeper might have just let it through.
Oh yeah.
Allison just being himself and being that big major XGC saver for us
Hmm.
over the past few seasons, he was the only one who could keep him out. Another
Yeah.
day, he would have like scored two goals at least.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, let's just jump on to our major talking points. Manchester United and Wolves game just ended. Manchester United got about 1.46 xg, and Wolves had a 2.23 xg. And
Yeah.
the final scoreline was absolutely the opposite, 1-0 to
Mhm.
United.
Yeah.
What do you think about this game? What any positives for Wolves or any bad things that happened
Yeah.
on the United side?
Yeah, I mean, Wolves look really, really good, and especially given that they have had only a couple days under the new manager, he already seems to have kind of found a way to make the players work hard. They were working very, very hard. They looked devastated by the end of the game, right? They were all very,
Yeah,
very tired, but they put in a shift, all of them, right? Even
absolutely.
like the likes of Semedo, Lemina, they look really, really good in general. Kunha, right? He didn't score any goals. They're just missing that kind of finishing touch, right? Which has been a problem
Absolutely.
for them over the last couple of seasons as well, since Jimenez lost his touch since his injury and everything. Um, but yeah, I mean, if they have a better finisher, and I hope that one of Fabio Silva, Kunha, or even the likes of Neto, etc., Sarabia. They have players, like they have good ballers. It's just that they cannot find the back of the net for somehow. They look like the
Absolutely.
better team for the better part of the game as well, right? It's just unlucky that they didn't score.
100%. Like till the first 30 minutes, they were like completely bossing the game. 30
Hmm.
to 40 minutes in that 10-minute range was the only time when I saw Manchester United actually
Yeah.
show a fight. And then post that again till the 80th minute, it was again all Wolves till the
Hmm.
Varane. I would say it wasn't very clinical. It was more of a very lucky goal. It bounced off well.
Yeah.
Uh, where came to Bisaka. Bisaka put a good, decent ball in. Varane
Hmm.
at the right place and the right time, but were completely bossed out of the game. Midfield, especially, Lamina single-handedly was handling all of them together, and they were
Hmm.
forcing them to move on to the wings. Uh, United could not run any channels, and on the
Yep.
wings, one side Garnacho was literally bullied entire game by Semedo, almost pocketing
Hmm.
him, and a little worrying signs from Manchester United side. We expect a little better from them, but still just the first game of the season got the result. But gameplay wise, they were not the best. Onana as well at the end, the penalty shot was very close. Some VAR officials could give it, some don't. So they were lucky today, and they were lucky to come off with a win, but not the best performance. We expect much better from Bruno and Rashford at least. Rashford
Hmm.
completely out of position,
Yeah.
not most reactive in its center forward position. Clearly looked out of water.
Hmm.
Uh, his best position for sure is that left winger, where
Yep.
he was not operating today. Garnacho was losing a lot of balls. A lot of pressure was invited onto themselves.
Hmm.
And from a Wolves point of view, beautiful play from Cunha, and almost single-handedly won the game for them. Only
Yep.
if he had the shooting boots on. Different result today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed with how Rashford looked like, especially. I mean, of course, not his favorite position. But he just kind of looked a little off speed as well, right? I don't know if it's fitness or something underlying or whatever. Just didn't look like the Rashford that we all know, right?
No,
And Bruno also had a lot of missed passes. I mean, he was in general okay, but yeah, again, not the FPL asset that you want to see for 8.59 million ish midfielder. They looked better after Ericsson came in because
yeah,
again Mount had a very poor game. I mean, he was almost invisible, right? He barely did anything. They did look better after Ericsson came in and Garnacho went off. Sancho came in as kind of the false nine, not false nine. He was actually still playing left wing.
wing,
Rashford
yeah,
was still going through the middle, but they looked a better side for the last 20-25 minutes ish. I'm surprised that Ten Hag didn't make the changes earlier, at least a few minutes earlier. So that was surprising. But yeah, it's just a Manu thing, right? They get these wins somehow, last moment goals and so on. We have seen this for
true,
years and years.
true,
It's just Manu
true.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, just little more expected from them. So personally, we'll still stick with their assets for now, for
Mm.
sure. You can't like uh, knee jerk them out of your team, but one to watch out for the future to see how they are progressing, and if
Yep.
the lack of a number nine is still affecting them.
Hmm.
Let's move on to our personal game. Chelsea was Liverpool. So ended again on a 1-1, as usual, a draw, but a well-deserved draw, I feel, from both the sides. At least from Liverpool side, I would say we got a little lucky. We should have almost lost this game, but then again there were offside goals on both sides. So at
Hmm.
the end of the day, ended up on a stalemate. But Chelsea XG was like 1.35, Liverpool 1.28. We're fairly matched as per
Yep.
the XG matchup goes by. But Chilwell, what a game! Yeah, almost played winger and
Hmm.
was bossing that left hand side. So, his left and our
Yep.
right hand side, and kept Trent like on the right back position, could not move into the box midfield at all
Mm-hmm.
because of Chilwell's threat, as well as on the right. Sterling was having a good game against Robertson, completely bossed him
Mm-hmm.
out of the game. Was inviting a lot of pressure because of all the attacks that were coming from the wings. And Enzo Fernandez had one of his best games I've seen in a Chelsea jersey. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Literally ran the entire midfield for Chelsea. Liverpool clearly lacking that DM and not looking likely that we are going to sign anyone as of now. So
Yeah.
few weeks at least, Liverpool's going to have the same problems, that the defense is going to be fairly wide open and a lot of chances expected against us.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think, I mean, for Chilwell, if there is outside Haaland, if there is anyone essential right now in the game in FPL, it's probably Chilwell, just because of the positions that he's taking. He was bombing through the left. He was also sometimes inverting into the midfield. For a lot of for his assist, he was actually very central, right? It was a header
Yep.
into this assist. So he was all over the field, right? And he looked very good. Reece James also looked very, very good, right? I mean, they were the two outlets for all of our attacks from coming from the wings. Of course, as you said, Sterling also had a very, very decent game. The XG doesn't necessarily tell it, but I think Chelsea were the better side, at least just from a gameplay
Yeah,
standpoint in this particular game. Liverpool uh, looked good at least in some part of the game. Uh, they have the individuals, right? That's what Liverpool's strength is: the Salahs and the Jotas who can find goals out of nothing. So that's there, of course. But yeah, I think in general, I would say Chelsea were slightly ahead from a
for sure.
matchup standpoint. There are good signs, and of course, and we'll get Caicedo and Lavia, hopefully. So that's bad news for
Yeah,
Liverpool, good news for Chelsea. But yeah, I think I told was speaking about that before the season started as well. That I think Chilwell, Jackson, and Reese are the three best FPL assets to own from Chelsea,
for sure.
and they
Owing
were
to
yeah.
yeah, no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that Chilwell and Reese were essentially the two attackers, right, alongside Jackson for a lot
Absolutely.
of time. So you are essentially getting a 5.5 million attacker from Chelsea if you buy Chelsea and Reese. But yeah, and the
Yeah,
fixtures are fantastic from Game Week 2 onwards.
absolutely. I mean, the Reece James substitution was like called upon by a lot of people, but doesn't seem like an injury, just like
No,
tired because did not have a lot of preseason minutes in
minutes
him.
in its legs, yeah, yeah.
So completely okay on that front. From a
Mm-hmm,
Liverpool standpoint, like I would say, Salah looked really good, but then again, just that offside, just a bit offside, and then
mm-hmm.
70 minutes he was taken off. Had a angry bust up reaction to it, but then
Yeah.
Klopp later clarified that it was nothing and he has no issues with him, so looks good to
Mm-hmm,
start again. So was like surprisingly looked really good in the first
mm-hmm.
30 minutes, that we were actually bossing the game for the first
Yep.
30 minutes, and then we were on the back foot for the rest of the game. So whenever we had possession, Soboslai looked good, was taking a few corners off Robertson as well. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Robertson was disappointing, to be honest,
mm-hmm.
in this game. We need to find a replacement for him long term
Yep.
if Liverpool have like title ambitions, because it's getting very leaky in this system, and even in the 4-3-3 system he's not performing to his
Mm-hmm,
best potential. He's bombing too far ahead, leaving in a lot of spaces. We do not have any DM or anyone who can cover spaces anymore. Van Dijk has lost his pace ever since the ACL injury, so
mm-hmm.
creates a big opening for us. So uh, not very positive signs from the Liverpool side, but still 1-1, and we still did not lose. So that's a positive that came out of the game.
Yep.
Did not look the best, to be honest.
Yep. True. True.
Let's move on to our next matchup. That was the Brentford and Spurs. Madison had a great game. everything was running through him.
Mm-hmm.
And but on the other side, Thomas Frank actually had a proper coaching masterclass. Negated it completely by setting up in a 5-2-3 kind of system, and basically negated all the wing play that was possible from from Spurs end, and kept Son out of the game. But matters like complete talisman role. He could have had his third assist, although his second assist was a very lucky assist.
Yeah.
Got tackled, ball went into the direction of Emerson Royal. Royal
Mm-hmm.
scores a worldie out of a goal, but
Yeah.
he should have had a assist to Richarlison, which was kind of sitter, which he missed. But then again, on the other side as well, Brentford missed a lot of big chances, as they always deal in only big chances, but they missed a lot of open goals, like one from Mbuomo that should have been converted, and all the Mbuomo owners would have come really happy out of this game in general as well, because he got the
Mm-hmm.
goal. It was looking very lively. And if you even look at his average position, he looks very all over the place, as well as more very attacking, very forward. The one on the left is his mark, and that is the 19 number that he's carrying, most attacking player for Brentford. So looking like a very good pick at 6.5, taking penalties, almost the talisman of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, their fixtures are also very, very good going from game week two. This was probably one of their tougher early fixtures, right? From game week, I think game week two is Fulham, if I'm not wrong. Their
uh,
fixtures look really, really good. So, yeah, at 6.5, you cannot get anything better, right? Penalty
yeah.
taker looks like the talisman. So, yeah, absolutely. Great, great asset to own.
I mean, people were actually making fun of him not missing the goal completely and not hitting the
Yeah.
sidebar or the post. But
Hmm.
then should have scored that, to be honest. But
Yeah.
it happens.
He's very
It happens.
involved, right? That's what you want for FPL, right? Okay, he misses one or two chances here and there, but you want the involvement. You want those players who are always in the game, right? He just is that kind of player. Absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's just move on to the next game.
Hmm.
Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. A very dismal game from Sheffield's point of view. They do not have any attackers as such. They played William
Yeah.
Osula, who has literally featured for them two times in the championship,
Yep.
and they lost their main attacker in NDA and their main creative force in Sanderberg, and it looking really like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know where they're going to get their goals from. So
Yeah.
any one playing Sheffield United you can actually have their have a defense playing against Sheffield United and basically get clean sheets out of it. Very
Hmm.
small chances created. One from Osula itself was a curling ball, almost ended up in the net, but then did not look very convincing. Also, as
Hmm.
per the average position map, you can see they were in a very low block defense kind of situation on the left,
Yep.
and were trying to sit back and manage to through the game, but Crystal Palace attack was too potent for them. Eze
Hmm.
especially, what a game for him!
Yeah.
Created seven big
Fantastic game.
chances, had six shots on the goal, uh, putting in crosses from all sides. Had about 0.51 xg and 0.41 xa, so the total of 0.92 xi, which is really
Hmm.
good when it comes down to per 90 stats. uh, Six block shots, that was the one which really uh, like pushed me towards deep diving into his stats. He's taking all of these shots which were not expected out of him. He was supposed to be more of a creator, but
Yep.
in season as well, we've seen he's bombing forward and uh, trying to be the talisman of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, again, with Zaha leaving, someone has to take the burden of scoring those goals as well, right? And it looks clearly that Eze has the license to shoot, right? So Roy Hodgson has given him
Absolutely,
the license, just go there and take your chances. And he has the capability to convert some of those chances from even long range as well, right? We have seen that in the past. And again, At 6.5, you are getting the talisman of the team, very very likely on penalties as well. Absolutely, another great asset at 6.5 million, no doubt. And I think, and for Sheffield, they are probably the most targetable fixture this season alongside Luton. I mean, I don't see any hope for them unless they drastically change something by some players. Of course, their attackers would be back, but even so, I mean, it's going to be a very, very difficult season for them. And as you said, they lost Sanderberg as well. He was kind of the heart of their midfield. I don't know why they even let that happen, and also selling to potential rival, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a very, very tough season for them.
Yeah, they have a ownership problem, to be honest. Last
Mhm.
season as well, they went through almost dissolving the club, almost went into administration.
Yeah,
So that was the reason where all their assets had to be sold, or
yeah.
reduced pay, like wages needed to be done. So that
Hmm.
has really affected them, and they're one of these teams that have come up and not upgraded. They have actually degraded their squad, so it doesn't
Absolutely.
look very good going into it. In addition to Eze, I also liked Edward in this game.
Hmm.
He got the goal and almost had another chance very close to the goal where he could have scored another one. So another asset that we can keep our eyes on, but it's just a Sheffield game, so you cannot
Yeah,
call
you cannot
anything from
take too
that.
much out of this. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Palace in general are not that attacking, right? I mean, they were taking shots all over the place. They're generally not that kind of team, right? They're kind of
Absolutely.
defense first team, and go into counters and so on. But yeah, I mean, again, something to keep our eyes on when their fixtures are better, for sure.
Even another player that I would say to target from Palace if their fixture run is good and they're looking defensively solid, Anderson. I
Hmm.
had one chance saved off the line. Was like a keeping masterclass.
Hmm.
Literally off the line, saved it. Was any other keeper might have just missed it. It was just one of those situations where the goalkeeper was in proper position and had his hand out in the right direction, hit his hand
Yeah.
and stopped. Even he took another long range shot, had almost the highest BPS going into
Hmm.
the game till Palace scored. So another asset that could be looked at if the defensively
Yeah.
Crystal Palace looks stronger.
Yeah, their wing backs are not that attacking, right? So whenever Palace keeps a clean sheet, he's in for the bonuses. As you said, he was highest for the BPS this game. Even with respect to Gahey, I think he's the better FPL asset. He's always racking up those bonus points. And another, of course, the goalkeeper Johnstone, right? A lot of us had him.
Yeah,
He is a popular, one of the most popular goalkeepers in the game. Looked good in general, but again, it's Sheffield. He didn't have to do a whole lot, to be honest.
true.
But yeah, I mean, Palace's defensive numbers were good all through last season. We expect them to put up similar numbers. So again, yes, their defensive assets could be something to look forward to as well.
Absolutely. Let's swiftly move on to the next game, Aston
Hmm.
Villa and Newcastle.
Hmm.
Another Emery had a very bad like he missed out on Mings earlier, and that
Hmm.
created a big gap in that defense. Now that Mings was almost like a leader of the defensive side, and there was no one manning that line, especially when you're
Yeah.
playing that high line against a breakout pace of players like Isak and Barnes and Wilson. You're always going to be susceptible to counters, and Tonali with a good debut goal, almost got a second as well.
Yep.
So promising signs for Newcastle at least. Defensively, Villa have never been very watertight, to be honest, but they had some results that went their way last season.
Hmm.
Mostly down to Mings saving them off the line many a times, as well as Martinez pulling out wonder saves. So not much can be called out of this performance from them because there have always been this kind of defense. So uh, personally, from an attacking point of view, Watkins and Diaby had a very good game.
Hmm.
Could have linked even further, gotten a few more goals. And if you have Watkins in your team, Are you looking to move him over to another striker this game week? I personally wouldn't. Like on
Yeah.
another day, another assist and almost another goal. That if he had his proper shooting boots on, he could have gotten us another
Yeah.
goal and another assist. So
Absolutely.
I
I mean, you just have to be patient with him. And again,
absolutely,
he is the talisman of the team, and he looked very involved as well. As you said, he could have gotten more. One bad missed chance, but that was about it. Other than that, he in general he looked pretty good as well, very fit too. So yeah, I mean, just be patient unless you don't have any route to get to like your preferred forward in game week 3 or something. Definitely, definite hold, 100% hold for game week 2. Assess for game week 3. In general, I wouldn't be worried about Villa. I think they will again have a decent season. Any team in the league can have a bad game against Newcastle. They are that good.
absolutely,
And as you said, with Tonali in, with Bruno G there in there, with Joel Linton their midfield. I was telling that in the group chat. It was a group chat today as well, right? They are probably the best midfield in the league. They are that good. So yeah, I wouldn't take too much out of this game. They looked a little off pace. I don't know if that's preseason preparation or whatever. But again, Newcastle are like fitness monsters, right? They were always getting first to all those loose balls. A lot of the goals were in kind of in transition, right? In counters or in
absolutely,
transition. There was one of those goals where like Bruno G made space out of nowhere. Like the he was looking the other way and he just made space out of nowhere with that one turn, right? So it's just the quality of the players, the Newcastle midfield. And the forwards too, right? Almiron looked sharp. Gordon looked surprisingly very good, right?
very good,
I mean, of
very
course,
good.
I don't know if we can consider him as quite an FPL asset yet, but he looked really sharp. Like he has upped his game, right? I
Yeah,
think he has that kind of back pushing from the coach that hey, you go and show me what you can do, and
absolutely.
he did. So he had a fantastic game. Isak started the game, but the problem with again the Newcastle forwards is who starts, right? Again,
Yeah,
the fixtures are very good, starting game week 4 ish, I think.
yeah,
So would want one of them, but it's just hard to tell who do you want. So it's still something to look out for. I mean, in general, I would think in the long term, Isak is the central point, right? As a manager, as a club, you want to build a team around him, not
yeah,
Wilson, right? Who is already 30. But again, Wilson is very good too. Every time he comes on, he scores a goal, right? Like that's just
yeah,
the norm this time. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think Newcastle just looks fantastic as a team.
absolutely. I mean, I was looking at numbers for Barnes and Wilson after they came out. Around 20-25 minutes
Hmm.
on the field. Barnes got one goal, one assist out of 1.43 XG,
Hmm.
XGI, sorry. And Wilson was like 25 minutes on the pitch, got four big chances, scored a goal out of it.
Yeah.
So he is that kind of player. Like he is on the pitch, he's going to score. But then you cannot pick one of them because, as you said, unless one is injured, you do not know for certain who's going to be playing.
Yep.
And it's horses for courses clearly from Eddie Howe, but you cannot predict exactly how it is going to happen.
Hmm.
In terms of Gordon, I think he got a very big push even in the preseason. He had a
Yep.
very good preseason, and also in regards to Barnes being signed on, he
Exactly.
could think that as a direct threat for his position. So that would be another motivation for him. It looked really good.
Hmm.
Looked
Yep.
really good. Looked like some shades of his Everton form when he was
Yeah.
the golden boy for Everton. So
Hmm.
one to watch out for, but not an
Yep.
FPL asset yet.
Correct.
Let's move on to Everton versus Fulham. Another major XG
Yeah.
game where the higher XG lost. Everton 2.73 XG, Fulham just 1.5. Fulham won the game. Uh, it was all down to Neil Maupay missing a lot of chances, Patterson missing an open goal, and Leno masterclass completely. Nine saves in the game, ended up with
Hmm.
maximum bonus around a 12 pointer for the game. and one of those goalkeepers that nobody had an eye on, like pre before the fixtures were announced, a lot of people were actually thinking about going for Leno. But then once the fixtures were announced and how Fulham looked in the preseason, and with all the uncertainties with Mitrovic, with Willian, nobody was considering him as an asset. But he
Mhm.
pulled one out of the bag and got a major haul over here. Comparatively, on the other side, Pickford, I mean, I would not blame him for that goal, but then
Yeah,
they always they always look so good and yet so far away. I mean, it was completely not like a Sean Dash team. If you see the average positioning on the left hand side, it's a
yeah,
very attacking team, with Iwobi being their highest, like the highest forward player,
yep,
as well as if you see from a defensive point of view, they are also holding a very high line, and that forced Fulham to go into a low block and just break onto counters and score from set pieces. So, what do you think about this game?
yeah. I didn't catch the game live. I saw highlights later, but as you said, you don't expect this from a Shondash team in general, right? They were very attacking. Even like Dukure got to the end of like two, three very pretty good chances. They were pushing up. And now, again, of course, it's Fulham, so you have to take the opponent in account as well. We don't expect this from Everton every game, but at least they showed the intent, which is the positive side. But they do miss a finisher, definitely, right? Again, Mope, when he was at Brighton, he kept missing all these chances. And
Yeah,
doesn't seem like anything changed, right? So yeah, I think if they had a better finisher, I would expect them to do better. Just because this season there are teams that are worse, I think Everton would be just about okay, not at least not in relegation threat. But
yeah,
yeah, I think they'll be all right. And Shandaish is a good coach, right? He knows to how kind of get these points, especially against the lower teams. I'm pretty sure he'll be disappointed with losing points in this game.
for
Um,
sure.
but yeah, Fulham are kind of out of sight almost, right? As you said, because of all the things were happening with Mitrovic
Yeah,
and so on. We were barely even talking about Fulham assets, right, in the preseason. Leno, someone to keep our eyes on, of course, at 4.5. Uh, but Fulham defense is bad, right? I mean, how much you can depend on the goalkeeper to keep making all these brilliant saves, right? He's good, no doubt, but
yeah.
they just concede too many chances to be relying on him all the time.
Even last season, he was the highest
Oh yeah,
XGC saver
yeah.
from all teams in the Premier League. So that is always going to happen. Like you cannot go for a defense and expect him to like save all of these chances. One of them is bound to go in. So, but
Right.
if you have that courage to go with him, he can come out with these big pointers. But then
Hmm.
again, it's not a very reliable defense, so not the most ideal situation to be in. The interesting thing for me from this game was Mitrovic coming on in the second half and getting few
Hmm.
minutes in, and Raul Jimenez starting the game, got one off the bar, was very close to scoring that. But then Mitrovic again makes it very interesting. If he's at the club, Fulham attack can again get
Yep.
can be one of those that we can attack again.
Hmm.
Even Pereira came off the bench and looked very
Right.
interesting. If you see, he was like the second highest player on the pitch from the midfield. So it looks like positives from going into the season for Fulham. One to watch
Hmm.
out for, but not as of now.
Yep.
Let's move on to the Brighton game. Brighton and Luton ended up with a 4-1. Brighton, for a change, exactly on their XG, 4.01, and
Yep.
Luton at 1.48. I mean, it is fairly natural in our RDZ system to give away a lot of XG, but Luton, to be honest, looked very attractive. Had good chances, like especially from Morris. Looked
Hmm.
very lively, but on the other hand, Brighton would just too superior for them, especially likes of Estupinian. He was almost everywhere. If you see on the on the left hand side touch map, he was the one which was bombing forward and right behind Mitoma. Did not look
Hmm.
like a fullback at all. was mostly
Yep.
playing as a winger in that system. And what RDC did this game was kept literally no width. Was everything was running through the middle. Everything was
Mm.
attacked into the box, into
Very
uh,
narrow, very narrow. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, very compact play. Everything was channeled towards running through uh, Jao Pedro and Welbeck. So looks like a very attacking team going into the season. Good fixtures. If you don't have their attacking assets, so one to consider for again.
Yeah, I mean, the Brighton will just keep doing this, right? Racking up the XG numbers, 3, 4 XG every game. They just kept doing that throughout the second half of the last season. They're they have just restarted from there. And I mean, if you don't have at least one Brighton attacker, you are in trouble, at least in the long haul. And again, I misjudged Pedro's X minutes a little bit because I thought that he would be under threat from Enkiso, etc. But looking at this game, especially, and looking how much he was involved, and for sure he's on penalties now, right? If there was a little bit of doubt
Yep.
before, uh, he looks like the guy to stay in the main 11. It's his spot to lose essentially, right? Until he does something very, very wrong, until RDG says that he needs to change around things. I think he at least starts the games for sure. Maybe he would
For
come
sure.
off at around 80, 85 minutes or 70th minutes. But I think he is the starter for sure. And at 5.5 million, if you're getting a Brighton attacker, it's absolutely a steal, right?
Definitely.
Mitoma looked good in general, but I think he was a little kind of
Away from the goal.
not, yeah, a little away from the goal, at least from an APL asset standpoint. You
Yeah.
want him to be closer. March was, right? So
Yep.
again, March was one of those guys who didn't we didn't necessarily talk a whole lot in the preseason because of his injuries, end of the last season and so on. But March again looked really, really on it. Even aside from the goal, he was very, 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 very involved, right? So absolutely, all three of them are great assets, and Estupinian is like probably after Haaland and Chilwell, we spoke about them before. Estupinian is probably the third most essential, at least for these run of fixtures when they have the easier fixtures. Absolutely, he is basically an attacker, right? So he was playing like an attacker, should and could have scored goals also,
Yep.
apart from that assist as well. He had so many outlays, right? Like for going by the line and going inside and so on. So yeah, I do expect Estupinian to do really, really well this season as well. What do you think about the goalkeeper situation in at Brighton? Do you think it still holds the position number one?
I mean, from what we heard from RDZ, he kind of confirmed that he's looking at Steele as his number one for now until anything changes from a very defensive point of view. If Steele goes and makes a very big defensive blunder,
Hmm.
that is the only time I see him shifting around to Verbruggen. But till then, Steele looks like his first choice.
Yep.
Going into the season as well, he played both of them to essentially tried both of them out, but Steele has that attacking potential as well. He's a very good
Hmm.
distributor of the ball, which RDC loves.
Yep.
So opens up a lot of outlays for the attack. They can actually use his distribution, go direct. They don't need to use the short passing and move the ball and play out from the back. So that gives him
Right.
another option. Even like if you look at the basic RDC's system, they start from the back, invite pressure onto them, and as soon as the spaces open up, they go for the direct ball towards the wings and cut
Hmm.
in and try to score those goals. So that as well goes into his favor because he's very good with his feet. So he can pick up a pass to a defender, which is more easily open when compared to other goalkeepers that are at the club. Especially with Sanchez gone, I don't see Verbruggen to be a direct, immediate competition. But
Hmm.
let's see in the future. As of now, I think it's still going to be
Still
Steele's
holds the position.
position to lose.
Yeah, one Luton player that I want to mention is the 4 million defender Kabore. He
Kabore.
looked really, really good. I was really impressed with him. And again, that's the kind of 4 million defender that you want to own, as the
Absolutely.
exciting part of it, right? So again, there are some playable fixtures where you can play him if your other defenders are not fit or whatever. he has some playable fixtures going from game week 3, 4, 5 in that range. He looked really. I was really impressed with him.
Yeah, he's a Manchester City
Yep,
academy
academy
player,
product.
right?
Yep,
Who's on
yep,
loan.
yep,
On
yep.
the left, on the right hand side, you can see he's the highest from the left side of the defense, and
Hmm.
he was literally bombing up and down, almost
Yep.
like a winger,
He was
lesser
playing like a winger. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
lesser of a
Mm-hmm.
wing back, more of a winger kind of role that was given to him. So
Mm-hmm.
looks good. That's what I was mentioning. Luton, do not count them out. They're playing attractive football. They can cause an upset, but
Yeah.
as of now, defensively not the best. But
Yeah, I think
one
they
more,
just looked a little too open, almost
yeah,
like the Bielsa leads kind of,
yeah,
right? Like you just go for all out attack. You don't think about defense at all. So I'm pretty sure they will learn, and they will have to learn if they want to stay. Maria, in general, I was impressed with Luton in general.
absolutely. Let's move on to the next game. That's the Bournemouth and West Ham game. Jared Bowen scored the equalizer for them. Solanke with the goal. Uh, from what I saw, Bournemouth look very attacking. Even if you see the average position, it does not look anything like what we saw Bournemouth from last season.
Yep.
Front foot football, want to attack, win the games. Ariola is an amazing manager when it comes to attack. He's got no defense when you're so what happens if you're attacking so much you leave in spaces behind. So a lot of teams can use that against them, but
Hmm.
if you're scoring the goals and outscoring opponents, then you're getting the results. So Solanke finally has that free role. He's not bogged down by players around him. He can now be the talisman of the team and be the most attacking, most forward player. Even if you see on the left hand side, number 9, Solanke was way higher than what we have seen on any of these average position charts. So one asset to look out for from Bournemouth. From the West Ham point of view, they recently signed Wout Prowse as well, so that will help them to move the ball from the midfield, as well as Jared Bowen. There's a possibility of him starting as a forward.
Yep.
So, what do you think about West Ham and Bournemouth assets?
Yeah, I think Bournemouth will be a little different from what we expect them to be. Again, new manager. Uh, they in general looked good in shape, well drilled at least, right? And I think we're going to see a little different Bournemouth this year. In general, more structured, more kind of. At least they would know what to do. Like last year, again, they were very open, right? They were like conceding chances all over the place. But I think we'll see a little different Bournemouth this year. Again, from a fantasy standpoint, outside Solanke, probably not a
Yeah,
whole lot of places that you can go to. West Ham are interesting, especially for Bowen if he does move on to that central spot. He doesn't have penalties anymore, so
hmm,
that's a little bit of bummer. But again, we all know what Bowen can do. He had a 200 point plus season just a season back, right? So he has that capability, and again, he is the talisman for West Ham. Um, Probably not something that you want to move on to. The Bournemouth
hmm,
fixture was probably the targetable fixtures, especially from their early fixture run. um, Wait and watch for the time being. But yeah, could be a decent asset for when their fixtures turn better for sure.
absolutely. I mean, looks like the 200 point season as well. Looks like he was playing almost as a striker in that season as well. So
Hmm.
that could go in his favor, and hopefully he can like produce a similar kind of season again. At
Yeah.
7.0 out of position for midfielder, another one
Hmm.
to look at, but for the future, as you said.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next game, Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest sat very deep and were almost in a low block, forcing Arsenal to get their place from the wings,
Hmm.
which was not very comfortable for them. It was very similar to what Wolves did today against Manchester United. Even from the XG data, you could see like 0.83 XG created from Arsenal. and 1.18 from Nottingham Forest, ended up with a 2-1 result. But that also came from a master finish from Saka. On another day, on another player might not have finished that in the
Yep.
back of the net. So kind of lucky, I would say. Did not look like the Arsenal of last season where they were consistently producing that 3xg kind of level. So little worrying from their assets point of view, especially when
Yeah.
you are at home versus Nottingham Forest. You expect a little more from them, similar to what we spoke about from Manchester United. So wait and watch and hold for now for sure, but one to monitor for the coming game weeks, because their assets are not cheap, especially with what happened in the entire defensive change, where Gabriel, we got some kind of leak where he's not going to start. People who could not move on to Saliba because of FPL
Yeah.
servers crashing were stuck with
Hmm.
them, and then they conceded a goal as well. So defensively also not looking very tight, and if they're not creating that XG, it's going to be a little difficult for them, even though it's
Hmm.
just the first game. But
Yep.
I think it was more of a Nottingham Forest masterclass than Arsenal not being able to perform, but still want to wait and monitor for the future as well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, their fixtures are still pretty good until game week 7, 8 time frame. One of the best run of fixtures. Uh, I think there are a couple of problems, as you said. One of them being kind of trying to restructure in general with new
Yeah,
players, with Partey playing a right back, moving into the inverting into the midfield. We have not seen that even in the preseason games, right? I mean,
yeah,
of course, they have tried it behind the doors in the training and so on, but a competitive game is different, right? So they look like they are
absolutely
kind of trying to find a new system that can work out, right? So it is not
correct.
easy, and it definitely not easy in the Premier League, even if your opposition is Nottingham Forest, right? We saw that Timber got injured also, so that also hurts at least what they wanted to do with that structure. Tomiyasu came in, but yeah, I think they're still kind of figuring out. And if the Gabriel news is true, if he is potentially going to Saudi, that also hurts their long-term plan to some extent, I think.
Yeah,
Uh, and the other thing, the second thing was Jesus missing out, right? He
yeah,
might be back by game week 3, but I think he is so integral to the way that they play in general, and he's not like the regular number 9, right? He drops back, he engages in build up play and so on. And Ketia is
absolutely.
just not that, right? So I think they were just kind of missing out that a little bit as well. Jesus, when he plays, he also makes Martinelli and Saka
It's better.
better players, right? Because
Yep,
he draws
absolutely.
players towards him. So I think when Nketiah plays, even though he scored the goal, which is okay, but I think overall, planning wise, strategically, I think Arsenal misses that, or they miss that in this game. Jesus missing out. So
Absolutely.
once he is back, I think they'll be better. Second half was really, really poor, right? They were absolutely bad. Like no one was really playing good. Odegaard had like a last moment chance, but other than that, he wasn't that involved.
That's
Martinelli,
true.
other than that one assist, wasn't that involved. Saka was probably more involved, but again with that other than that long range goal, he didn't have any other chances in general, right? So
Yeah,
I wouldn't worry. Again, it's just the first game of the season. Things happen, but yeah, I mean, something to look forward to how Arsenal restructures with their new players. Rice is still uh,
yeah,
getting integrated into the team, right? It's a whole different system. Being the best player for West Ham is one thing, but getting into a already good Arsenal team and integrating yourself is a complete different thing, right? So he will have to learn that as well, how to play with this team. I think another disappointment was Havertz. And again, I
big
mean,
one.
of course, a lot of Arsenal fans were also surprised that Arteta went for him,
Yeah,
especially for the Shaka role, right? But he's just not defensively made up to do all that what Shaka could do. So again, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a new system that Arteta is trying to figure out. We'll see how that goes, but I wouldn't completely lose hope of with
for
Arsenal
sure,
assets, especially given their fixtures. Absolute holds.
for sure, for sure. Let's move on to the last game of the game week. There was the Burnley Manchester City, as we pointed out a bit in the start. Two goals from Haaland. Uh, Burnley looked good at the beginning, but then did not finish the game very well. They had their chances for the first 15 minutes, and then post that were very back foot and could not create a lot. KDB injury was the one that was a major loss for Manchester City, even especially after they are at loss of players currently. So that
Mhm.
would be like a big loss going into the season. Uh, Foden looked good, did not uh, like I would say like he did not affect the game effectively as much, except those two key passes that led to Haaland scoring those goals, but needs to be a little more astute on the ball, a little more calm when he's dribbling, because these are the
Mhm.
things which Pep really looks into whenever he's picking his side. He likes to control the game, and Foden kept on losing the ball on several occasions. But now, since they do not have too many players, I think Foden is a hold if you have him. Uh, and other than that, Alvarez was really good. Created six big chances in this game. Does
Mhm.
not like you do not associate him to be a creator, but
Right.
that Haaland and Alvarez partnership is looking good. Like they're setting up very well. Haaland for sure looks like the selfish kind out of them, but Alvarez is open to taking up that role and being a more central figure. Especially in this
Yeah.
game, City tried something different. I feel they were not very wide. If you see, even
Mhm.
on the average positioning, they played their 4-3-3 kind of system, but were not too wide, did not keep too much width, but looked like
Right.
a very Burnley setup. Like since they were playing Burnley, they went with that kind of system. But it's completely unlike Pep. It was a completely different system. Rico
Mhm.
Lewis had few good moments in the game, but other than that was okay. I wouldn't say was at it's at his own best. Walker had a very good game, good recovery
Mhm.
pace. He cut out a few important passes, important attacks. Rodri had a very good game, one goal, one assist. Not something that you associate with him. What is your overall reading of Manchester City for this game week?
Yeah, I think, I mean, as you said, the KDB injury early, of course, we are going to expect a lot more minutes from Alvarez and Foden. So that we none of us like injuries, but I think the KDB injury makes them better APL assets in general from an X minutes standpoint. Grealish didn't start the game, which was surprising. And as you said,
Yeah,
in general, the structure was a little surprising as well. Grealish is the one that gives them the width, right? Holds the ball, goes wide, retains the ball. So, of course, Pep tried to do something a little different in this game. I expect Grealish to come back in for most of the fixtures in general. And I expect them to buy players before the transfer season ends as well. I'm not sure 100% who they were bidding for Paqueta, right? They still need
hmm,
more players in that area, especially even more so with KDB out now.
especially
But yeah, I think in general, again, City or City, they will figure something out. Pep will figure something out for the team. But again, this is another big team going through a little bit of restructure, right? They lost
yeah,
Gundogan and Mahrez, who are essentially 25 to 30 goals every season. So they have to find those
absolutely,
goals, right? Haaland will score another 30, 40 goals this season, but they need to find the other goals from somewhere, right? Potentially Foden, potentially Alvarez, right? So that's the new thing for City, essentially, to find out where those goals are going to come from. So
yeah,
that's something that Pep has to figure out. I'm pretty sure he will. Defense is a little bit of minefield right now
yeah,
from an FPL perspective, right? Stone, Sakanji, Diaz, Wenfield, Gavardio, AK, Luis, Walker, right? So there are just too many options right now to figure out who would play what game. You probably
yeah,
don't even want to touch that. Just Gavardio, when he came on, looked really advanced and very
yep,
good. I mean, we all know he's very good, but he was the guy that was bombing for through the center, through the middle with the ball. He's a very good ball carrier as well. So at 5 million, he is probably the best defensive asset. But do you want to go there given that there are other better attacking defenders in the game with like the likes of Chilwell, S2, Reese, and so on, right? So it's just
Absolutely.
tough to go there right now. We'll know as we maybe by the time we play our first wild card, we'll know who are the first choice defenders for Pep. Until then, I would just most likely avoid the defensive
Avoid.
assets. But I think Foden and Alvarez are going to be very, very popular in the coming days, just because their X minutes have increased
Increase.
after the KDB
Yeah,
injury.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and both at that price point, especially Manchester City attack, the ceiling is very very high compared to
Hmm.
anyone in that price bracket. Alvarez at 6.5 as a forward and Foden 7.5 as a midfielder. So both have now a higher ceiling than what they had before going into this game,
Yeah,
especially with the increased X minutes as well as their new roles. When it comes to this Manchester City attack, they need to contribute because Pep will want to keep that goals coming for them. And
absolutely.
there is no other way to get it. Rodri, for some reason, looked very advanced in some
Yeah.
positions. Took a
Hmm.
very like Rodri-esque shot as he always does, and he sometimes it goes in the goal, sometimes the keeper saves it.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Like, is it going to be something that Pep is now evolving to? Is he pushing Rodri forward? Something to monitor over? Yeah,
Yeah, something to monitor. I mean, Rodri will probably never be a FPL asset for what it matters, no matter how many goals. It's just hard to predict when he will score these goals, right? He always racks up like 140, 150 points every season
yep,
at the end of the season, but you just cannot predict when he's going to score those points. So yeah, I mean, it can be again, as I said, Gundogan is gone, so they need to find those goals from somewhere.
yeah,
And Rodri is probably better suited than Kovacic to score those goals, get in the
yep,
central part of the field. Maybe, just maybe. That will be
yeah.
interesting if he ever becomes a proper FPL
FPL asset.
option.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
Pep does Pep things, so you can never say never with Pep.
Yep. Absolutely.
So yeah. So that was like a wrap of all the games we had. We have a few questions
Mhm.
from Boxing Media asking about our thoughts on Son. Personally, I think he was a little too wide
Yeah.
from my liking. Did not look very sharp as well in front of the goal. He had one chance that was saved off the line from Flecken. Uh,
Yeah.
does not look like the 9.5 asset as of now.
Not at all. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely agree there. I think he's still recovering from that surgery a little bit as well. So it's just too early to go for him, especially given the price tag, given all the other midfielders that you can go for much cheaper. Yeah, I would. I think right now Son is definitely an avoid.
Perfect. We have one question of Twitter. Ryan asks, who will play in the advanced midfield position for Chelsea with Lavia and Caicedo coming in? Do we see a formation shift of two sixes and one eights, or two eights and one sixes and no number 10? Do you think you know that?
Possibly. I was again talking about it earlier today. There is a likelihood that one of Lavia and Caicedo, most likely Lavia plays in the six, and then Caicedo plays with Enzo further up forward as the two eights. That's a possibility, especially given that Nkunku is injured.
Absolutely.
Chukwemeka is good, but he's still very young. We cannot
Yeah,
expect him to play like every game, right? So I do
absolutely.
see Pochettino setting us up in different formations given our opponents. Liverpool was a specific opponent that he set up that formation for, right? So five at the
Hmm.
back and so on, with the wingers bombing, both of the wingers bombing forward. But there could be games where he would just play forward the back with James sitting back at the third
Hmm.
central back and Chilwell the only guy moving forward. But yeah, I think there is a possibility that we may see Caicedo and Enzo in number eights. That does maybe up Enzo's potential as an FPL asset a little bit,
Hmm.
but again, not something that I would go to right away. Right now, if you want to go for a Chelsea player, it's Chilwell, Reese, and Jackson. Those three.
Perfect. Sounds great. One more question from Raja. He says, "What is your preferred strategy? Rolling in game week 2 and game week 3 doing like a mini wildcard, or rolling into game week 3 and then doing like a mini wildcard in game week 4 because of the turn of fixtures. And also has a question on Nicholas Jackson or Watkins, and the third question on Jota Nunez. So if you could take the Nico Jackson and the Watkins one, I will take the Jota Nunez and the other one.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one. I mean, of course, both Chelsea and Aston Villa have good fixtures in general. If you want to use the funds elsewhere, I think Nico Jackson, just because of that 1 million price delta, is probably the better asset, especially moving from game week 2 onwards, West Ham, and then three kind of bottom quarter of the table, I would say, at teams in game week 3, 4, and 5. I would just slightly prefer Nico over Watkins. What was the other one? The question.
Uh, the other one was doing a mini wildcard in game week
Oh,
3 or in game week 4
I
because
think
the
it
fixture
depends.
turns
It
up.
just yeah, just don't commit to it yet. We
Yeah,
don't. We have barely any information yet, right? It's just game week 1 over. So look for more information. If you need to make changes in game week 3, do that, but don't be forced to do it, right? Don't be forced to use your two free transfers. Don't premeditate. That's the best strategy,
absolutely.
right? To take the information in and just make your decisions accordingly whenever you want to use those two free transfers.
I mean, especially at this early on in the season, I would look to save my transfers
Absolutely.
for the time where I have more information on how teams are setting up, especially with the international break coming after game week 4.
Hmm.
It could also be a good strategy to save your two transfers and then use it in game week 5, owing to
Hmm.
any injuries that could happen
Absolutely.
over the international break. So I would try to save all of those transfers for now, not premeditate, rather be a reactive than a proactive manager as of now, because
Mhm.
especially with the number of games that these teams are playing, as well as the number of injuries that we're seeing in this season, it's
Yeah,
very difficult to predict anything in terms of fitness of the players.
correct.
And there is one more question from Raja. He asks if Jota, Nunez, or none. According to me, from a very Liverpool point of view, if you're looking at just the Bournemouth game, Nunez should be the one who starts. Also, Jota came up with a very slight knock,
Mhm.
so but that game is not made for him, to be honest. Nunez is the one who should be starting that game,
Yep.
and but if you look at it from a long term point of view, I would pick none as of now. Just wait on the uh, wait till at around game week 7 till the complete fixture turn happens for Liverpool, and then jump on their assets. We'll have more information on how Salah is adjusting to the new system, and how our midfield is integrating with the rest of the squad. So personally, I would just wait. It's one fixture, and Bournemouth are not the same team from last year.
Mhm.
There's one last question that I think we have already answered. Is Chilwell a must-have?
Yeah, I think given the fixtures, I think he's very, very, very close to being essential PL asset.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Okay, that's it from our show for tonight. Like, share, and subscribe. What if you like our work over here? And come back for our next stream. That is going to be a game week review stream at around Wednesday, and we can discuss your game week 2 dilemmas in more detail with all the information that would be fed in the coming days. So, cheers! Thanks for joining in. Do drop us a like if you like our work, and please support us if possible. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kante. I will. We will still be connected. We will chat
Absolutely.
over our group chat.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Thank
thanks
you,
for
Nehal,
coming.
for having me.
Appreciate
Yep.
your time. Thank you, man.
Bye
Bye.
bye.